So from the city to the country, Connect has a brand new segment now with Jason Leo Bantle, who is the founder and photographer of All in the Wild Photography, where Jason takes us outside of our homes, outside of our work, and shows us what life is like in the wild. Welcome back to the show, Jason.
Great to be here again today this week.
Now, last time we chatted, and I want to do this again because it's coming up, you gave us a fascinating statistic about wolves Friday and the coinky-dink connection to what's happening on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, surprisingly, they actually know that it's Valentine's Day as well, Sarah. There was a biological research project years back in Alberta, and they found that the peak of mating in wild timber wolves in Alberta was February 14th. During the whole month of February and into the early part of March is the time when these fellas and girls are out and, celebrating love like humans do as well on February 14th.
Okay, I know that is just a date circled on the calendar, but the fact that it coincides with the date that we're all wondering if our significant other is going to buy us a heart-shaped box full of chocolates is kind of a fun connection.
Yeah, it is for sure. And wolves do it a little bit different. They're not going down to the store to get chocolates. But what you start to see is behaviors change in wolves. There's a lot more activity between the alpha male and the alpha female. They'll start to nuzzle each other. They'll start to be very playful when you're observing them. And they'll set up territories. They're howling a little bit more because they're telling their neighbors to the north or the south that, hey, this is our territory. This is where we're going to have our family. So there's some of that activity going on. And some of the younger wolves are also dispersing out of packs. They're going to look for their own partner and maybe start their own family. So they're also looking for love by leaving the pack. So it can be a time of year when wolves are dispersing as well.
The fantastic thing about being Jason Leo Bantle and being a wildlife photographer is, I said, do you have any stories, maybe a story about being up and close personal with wolves? And Jason's like, well, I've got two. And I'm like, of course you don't just have one, you have two, because it's not every day you meet someone who can say, oh, I've had two close encounters with the wolves. So what is it like? Share one of them. Share one of them. What is it like, Jason, being that close to an animal who is majestic, I'm sure, in his beauty, but also maybe a little bit scary?
Yeah, it's having that master's degree in biology and colleagues that have researched wolves and worked with wolves and such. You get to know that wolves have a natural fear of humans. And yes, it can be intimidating for sure, Sarah, to be out there and be in close proximity of a very large animal, 120, 140 pounds, some of these alpha males. They have ferocious teeth. They can crush your forearm quickly with just one bite. But you have to understand that they don't want to be around us. They're actually quite shy, and they have a natural sense of wanting to stay away. So one of the most fantastic encounters I had was on a northern lake in Canada. I witnessed a pack of wolves early in the morning. There was 8 of them. They were finishing up feeding on a white-tailed deer that they had captured probably that evening. I built a little snow blind along the edge of a frozen lake, and at a location that is their core area. So they love to come back to that spot. That was the spot where they would call kind of home. And I was laying there probably for a good 2 to 3 hours observing, and then all of a sudden the pack started walking in my direction, and 8 wolves are coming right towards me, Sarah. Like, wow. And they're a ways off, a kilometer away. They keep coming, and all of a sudden I realized these wolves are going to walk over top of me. That's how close they're going to get. Eventually I had 2 pack members behind me in the forest, and that made me a smidge nervous, but I kept reminding myself they don't attack. Their bellies are full. We're fine here. But the alpha male was walking right at my lens, and I had to pop my head above my lens, Sarah, and actually say, hey, I'm here, because he would have walked right over my shoulder. He was only about 20 to 30 yards off. I could see the pupil of his eye in my lens. The title of that image in my gallery is entitled Lord. He was a huge male wolf. He had a little bit of a mark of remnants of his catch on his paw, so a little bit of red blood, and he was a warrior. It was just fantastic. When I stood up and said, hey, I'm here, the pack all kind of stopped. All of a sudden they got back together. They didn't exactly know what was going on because they didn't have my wind. Their sense of smell is what they really rely on, and their vision. And then I actually moved up and exposed myself so that they could see me. And they slowly just trotted off by me, feeling safe. And I spoke softly and said, "I'm not here to threaten you, and thank you for the opportunity." And they walked down the lake. It was fantastic.
You thanked the wolves for the opportunity to be close to them and take their photo.
I always do. I'm always, with any image I capture, I thank that species for giving me a view into their life and letting me share their life with the world.
Jason, that is the most interesting, compassionate, kind thing I've heard in ages, because they might, I'm assuming they might be able to understand your tone and the volume with which you're speaking. But to also put it out into the universe that you appreciate letting them be part of your work and your photography is a really elevated level of appreciation.
Yeah, well, without them, I wouldn't have my occupation and my passion and my love. I mean, nature gives me so much back. So it's a kind gesture, and I think you're right. I mean, they obviously don't understand the words, but the tone and the presentation of it, I hope they understand that. Yeah, I'm sincerely grateful.
That's an incredible story. The other story about wolves, which I want to know, is you said you were around 17 wolves. Now, in the moment of looking at this pack in your other wolf story and thinking they are majestic creatures and they probably do not want to harm me, but I just want to reiterate, you said they could crush your forearm with one bite. How can you count 17 and know there's 17? It's kind of like counting school-age children. And you go, wait a minute, I got to start again. Here we go. 1, 2, no, they moved. How did you know there was 17 together? I'm fascinated.
I was in the Central Arctic doing research on Arctic fox. So this was quite a few years back. I was helping out a colleague. And we actually saw them come over a hillside, and we were able to count all 17. And we decided they, again, were headed in our direction. They were vocalizing a lot. We just got together, the three of us, and just sat really quiet on a rock outcrop. And one of the wolves noticed us, whether it was visual or scent-wise, and started coming over in curiosity toward us. The whole pack of 17 eventually gathered, and they did surround us. And we were nervous for a good 30 seconds to a minute, but we kept reminding ourselves, wolves don't attack. But what happened, Sarah, is a couple of the younger pack members, the hair came up on their back. And we thought, are they going to act in an aggressive manner? No, I believe what was going on is that they were scared of us, and they didn't know how to react, and they were ready in case we reacted in a negative or aggressive way towards them. And they probably were with us for 5 or 10 minutes, just milling around about 50, 60 meters away, very curious in us, and then walked off, and about 200 meters past us, just let out a bunch of howls. Like, this is our territory, this is our turf, you're welcome to be here while you're here, but don't forget, we own this. We own this land. This is our home. It was fantastic.
Jason Leo Bantle, to have one wolf story that is so incredible, but then to have two is even more special. And you know that they say things in life always happen in threes. So I'm assuming that as your work and years continue, there are more wolf stories to come.
Yeah, I hope so. And I look forward to sharing it with you and your listeners.
I love it. Thank you so much. Founder and photographer with All in the Wild Photography, Jason Leo Bantle. You can find all his work at allinthewild.com. Joins us twice a month now on Connect to share stories from outside of our city. Thank you so much again, Jason.
Have a wonderful week, and happy Valentine's Day, everyone.